As with almost every API related to UI, such as layouts and styles, Android allows animations to be defined in XML and loaded using the resource system. Let's check out how to do that and the pros and cons of doing so. Right now, the scaling animation of Fab is implemented here in Java. Let's comment out this code and see how we can define this in XML instead. So I'm going to comment this out, and don't worry that scale Fab is throwing an error down here. We're going to address that in just a moment. So right-click on Res over here in the project pane, and then select New, Android Resource File. Since this is replacing our scale animation, let's call this Scale. For resource type, make sure to select Animator here, not Animation, which is above it. So select Animator. Animation is for the old View animation framework that we mentioned earlier. Leave the root element here and the directory name and source set, and click OK. If you are using Git like I am, you probably want to add these files to your repo. So here we have a scale.xml file, and it has a root element called set. We want to add an object animator element inside the set tag. This is equivalent to the creation of an object animator in Java code. We can then add parameters such as property name, the start and end values, duration, and interpolator. The content-assisted Android makes it really easy to enter these parameters. So here we want an object animator, and then we want to add our different properties. Android, we'll do the property name first, and first we're going to do scale X, like that. Don't forget the capital X. Then we want the from and to values, so we do Android value from, and it's going from 0, and then I'm going to bump down to the next line here, just so everything fits on the screen. And then we'll add the next one, Android value 2, and we want to scale up to 1, just like we did in code. Let's set a duration while we're in here too. Android duration, we'll do a quick little 150 milliseconds. We'll close this with a slash and a closing bracket. And next we can create the animator for scale Y. It sits side by side here with the set tag. So I'm going to copy this and paste below. And we can change just the scale X to scale Y instead. That's all we need to change. So guess what this set tag is equivalent to? That's right, it's animator set. Now we want the animations for scale X and scale Y to play together, so we can add an ordering attribute here to the set tag. So at the end, I'm going to type Android ordering, and we'll set it to be together. Again, I'm going to drop this down on the line below just so you can read it more easily. Okay, so this is it for the XML itself. Let's save this change and go back to album detail activity. So here, after we've commented out our code, let's create a new animator named Scale Fab, just like the same name as before. I'm going to hit Alt plus Enter to import the class. And now we'll load the animator we've just created using animator inflator. So set this equal to animator inflator. And we've seen this inflator concept a couple of times before. It's what Android uses to inflate UI elements from XML resource files. So here we want to call load animator. We can pass in the context, which in this case is just this, and the ID of the animation we just created. So we can use the R class, and here we have an animator, because that's what we added, and we called our animator scale. Note so far that we haven't said what view this new animation will be applied on. This is achieved using the setTarget method of animator. So scale fab, setTarget, and here we can pass in the view that we have already bound to, fab, and now we're ready to preview this animation. So let's click the run button up here. And once we play the animation, it should look exactly the same as before. So if I click on the album title, it comes in, and then the fab scales right in. Perfect. It's not difficult to create animations in Java code, so why do we want to do it in XML? Let's open up our animation file again, scale.xml. So first of all, the declarative content in XML is often easier to read than the Java code, especially when the animation is complex. For example, when multiple levels of animator sets are involved. Second, XML-based animations are easier to reuse since they are declared globally and can be inflated and used anywhere in the code. As for the downside of using XML, you may notice that the XML format is more verbose than Java. Those repeated angle brackets and Android annotations sometimes can be annoying. Also, in the last code example, I intentionally leave out the animations for the title and track panels. I did this for a reason. The start and end values of those animations rely on dynamic values that are only available during runtime. Unfortunately, as of the time of this recording, it's impossible to use runtime values in XML for Android. I hope you enjoyed learning about Android's powerful property animation framework. Now it's your turn to apply what you've learned. Up next, we'll switch gears and start looking at transitions.